Hey guys, welcome back to Berlin. It's Wednesday, so you know what it is. It's WebDev Wednesday. And I gotta tell you, this is the second recording that I'm doing. I did complete the whole recording and I forgot to turn on my mic. So the whole video, it was just the video and no audio. So I was kind of like disappointed, like I have to redo it again. But cool, we can do it even better now. So let's get started today's. Today, as the web development topic for today, I have chosen that re-renders in React. So this was one of my mind, like I wanted to talk about from a lot of from a long time, because I see people thinking about optimizing the React app, and some of the time it's actually better that you have to do. Some of the time it's just overkill. Okay, I mean it's not required, but people do spend a lot of time doing that, and it's not only beginners, even experienced developer do this. Okay, experienced developers, there are two types of experienced developers. Okay, one who can actually think before they do. One is just years. Okay, they'll just work for years and they'll just keep on working, and then I mean they won't be having much idea of what they're doing. Okay, so be the first type of developer, okay, who actually thinks before what they do. Okay, so that's what we'll be talking about today. So re-renders in React is a very, very crucial concept. Okay, so it's like very tricky, very confusing, and if you do it right, you'll be an amazing developer, you'll have an amazing application. If you do it wrong, you'll have a messed up application. Okay, so today morning I posted this poll in our community. This is the screenshot from our WhatsApp community, one of our WhatsApp group, and of course all the community links are in the description. Okay, so like you have this: do you think too much re-renders in a React component or a page is actually bad and affects the performance? So this was the question, and you can see there are some answers below. Some said yes it does. Actually majority of the people said yes it does, and some said nah, it doesn't matter much, and some said not at all, we can ignore it, and some said no idea, help me with this. Honest answer, of course. So today we'll be we'll just take a look at whether all these things are like, what does it mean actually? Is it a performance issue? Is it a bottleneck for the performance, or is it something that we can ignore, or is it something that we can take it for granted? Okay, let's just take a look at all these things. So before jumping into re-renders, you have to first understand what is render. Okay, what is render actually mean? So let's say you have a React page like this. Okay, and then you have some components inside it. Okay, let's say you have all these cards, like the Amazon page where you have all the product cards listed for you. Okay, let's say we have something like this. So here what you would generally do is you would create this card card as a separate component, the product card, and then you reuse it, right? You'll get an array of data, right? You'll get an array of data, and then you will just reuse the component. You'll just map the array with the card and then just reuse it. That's what you would do, obviously. So you can see basically you're rendering all the card component here multiple times. Okay, multiple times you are rendering. So what does render actually mean? So render actually means that you're getting all the things that you need, okay, for React. Basically you're getting all the things that you need and then you're bundling them. That's what render is. Okay, basically here what you're doing is you're getting the data that you need for the product, and you're getting the components that you need that to show the products, and then you're mapping them. You're adding all the data from this array of objects to this particular component, and then you're placing them. That's what render happens. Okay, render basically gets all the data, just maps them, make them ready for the next phase. So what is the next phase? Okay, so here it is. Render is the first phase where you basically get things ready. Reconciliation. Okay, reconciliation is the next step. What is reconciliation? So have you heard of something called VDOM, virtual DOM in React? Right? If you're getting started with React, obviously you will learn this. You guys know this. Okay, virtual DOM is nothing but artificial DOM. Okay, that's like a clone of the original DOM. So in reconciliation phase, what happens is whatever the changes that you have on the render phase, right? Whatever this changes, right? Whatever these data that you have on this page will be sent to the virtual DOM for modification. So basically what it does is it whatever you have here will be reflected on the virtual DOM. Okay, it's going to say, hey, add this card, hey, add this card, add this card, add this card. So basically you're adding multiple cards to the virtual DOM. That's what React does. And what this virtual DOM does is it will just keep track of all the changes. Okay, it will just take, okay, card 1, add it, card 2, add it, card 3, add it. So it's going to add everything to the list. It's going to group them. Okay, it's going to group them, and then it's going to commit. What is commit? So commit is a step where your updates from virtual DOM is reflected to the real DOM. Okay, so you can see here in render phase, you have bunch of updates to be made, and then you send them over to the virtual DOM. Virtual DOM will verify those updates. I'll actually tell you what is this verification is later. Okay, so now just think about this. It will do some verification stuff. Okay, it will verify everything, and then it will group them. Okay, it will group them. Again, it's very important. It will group them into one update, one single update, and then it will send over to the DOM. Okay, this is very necessary because you cannot update the real DOM multiple times over and over again, because the real DOM update is really slow. Okay, DOM updates is really expensive and really slow. So you have to make sure that you are updating in batch, and you don't have to do anything. Don't worry. React does it for us. React is amazing. React does it for us. Okay, so React, that's the reason React will make sure that it will just group all the updates that needs to be made, and then it will just combine them as one update to the real DOM. That will make sure that it doesn't slow the whole performance. Okay, that's what the whole phase is. So in this phase, we are able to render the cards and then update the virtual DOM. And virtual DOM in the reconciliation phase, what it does is React took all these updates, grouped them, and then made a commit to the DOM, to the real DOM. Okay, so once the commit is done, only then you'll be able to see the whole thing on the screen. So even now, whatever I have on my screen, right, this drawing board that I'm using, right, is actually a React application. So you can, whatever I'm seeing right now, okay, whatever I'm seeing right now on the screen is actually committed to the DOM. Okay, only then I'm able to see all these things on my screen. Okay, this is really important. Okay, so again, when you say render, it doesn't mean like you render it to the screen. No, if you're seeing something on the screen in your React app, it means that it is been committed to the DOM. When it's a render, it happens internally. Okay, everything is brought together and then bundled and make it ready for committing. That's what render is. It's not rendering on the screen. Okay, now let's talk about re-renders. What exactly is re-renders? Multiple times, rendering multiple times. That's what re-renders is, right? So there might be this case where you might re-render re-render a component over and over again. For example, this card, right? Let's say you added something that triggered something inside this component apparently, and then it kept on rendering again and again and again. Okay, so it kept rendering again and again. So if it is rendering again, you'll be sending that update to the virtual DOM. Virtual DOM will have to commit, obviously, and it has to check something, and we'll talk about the check later. Okay, I mean in like few minutes, obviously. So that's what happens, right? If you keep rendering, then all these phase will be repeating again and again and again. That's what's going to happen. So is that bad? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, why? Let's just see. I have a simple code prepared to show you in a visualized way, show you like a demo way. I have a simple code sandbox prepared. If you guys need a code, it will be in the description. Okay, the whole this code setup will be in the description. You can take a look at it yourself. So I have a first set of code which is actually bad, which re-renders a lot of time. Re-renders this is the component. Okay, we have two components. One is counter, one is logger. Okay, logger component will just console log. Okay, and counter component will have a button that increments the count. Okay, increments the count state. And we have two types of code. I've commented the second one. This is the valid one, which doesn't re-render, and this one will re-render. Okay, let's see what. So I have in this logger component, I've given a prop called IAM. So here in console log, we are logging the props.label with rendered. So basically it will render IAM rendered. Okay, it will just console log IAM rendered. Now let's click on even though without clicking the button, I got the first log. This is because the first render, because right now when we say render, you can see we have this component here, right? So what React will do is it will get this component code and then it will bundle all these components together. Okay, that's what rendering is. Remember the first in diagram what I told you, that the card, the data will be mapped together and it will make sure that everything is bundled for the reconciliation, right? This is what's happening here. Okay, since we grouped everything and bundled everything together in the render phase, we were able to get the first log, that is render, because we rendered it once while getting everything ready. Let me click on this button again. We were able to log it twice, right? Click again, thrice. See, no matter how many times I click the button, I'm still rendering this component. So what do I mean by render here? So when I say render, I'm actually creating a new instance of this whole element. Okay, I'm actually creating a new instance of this whole element. So whatever there is in the return statement here, right? Everything is recreated. Okay, fresh item. Okay, new element is recreated. So why does it have to recreate everything? Because it's involving state. So keep this in mind. If your component has state, okay, it doesn't matter if you have 1 or 2 or 100 states. If you have just one state, the whole return statement will be re-rendered. Okay, that's the way of React. If you have one or many states, okay, in that if one state changes, the whole thing will be re-rendered. Okay, I think I have my camera here which is blocking the view. All right, so as I was saying, so you can see here, right? If you have a state, no matter one or many, if one updates, everything will be re-rendered. So everything will be recreated again. So when we click on this button, everything is being recreated, including the button. Okay, including this logger element. That's the reason we just keep on logging. I'm rendered. See, I'm clicking the button. So I'm clicking the button. I've already clicked 35 times and we already rendered the button 35 times, and 36 times, including 0. Okay, we've rendered the whole thing 36 times. This is bad. Why? Because rendering the button is fine, because you can see here, right? But the count is count here. The button is dependent on the state value and you have to store the updated state. So it's fine if you render the button 36 times, it's okay. Okay, but what about logger? Logger is not dependent on count here. Logger need not to be rendered multiple times, is it? Right? Because logger is just console logging. It's not dependent on state, or it's not showing any state value or whatever it is. It's not even showing this 35 here. Then why do we need to render it again and again? This is one of the things that we have to fix. Okay, now let's see how to fix it. So let me comment this whole code and I'm gonna just, all right. So this is the updated code. Now let's see how we actually fix that. So if you can check the whole code again, everything is same, but the only thing is, instead of directly calling the component here in the counter, we are using a props. Okay, we're calling it via props. So now what happens is, you can see counter, I'm rendering the counter here, and I'm passing the logger. Okay, we are accepting a prop here and then I'm passing the logger as a prop. I'm not passing it, I'm not here in this case we render the component directly, but here we're passing it as a prop. Now let's see how it works. I'm going to clear the console and then refresh the whole page. Okay, now the counter has been rendered, and if I click on button, you can see the button is being incremented, but the count, this rendered, right, this console log, right, it doesn't increment, it doesn't render again. Why so? It's because it's not re-rendering. How is it clearly not re-rendering? Because I told you, right, whatever the return statement will be re-rendered, and clearly this props or logger is inside this return statement, and of course it has to re-render, right? But why is it not doing that? Let's see why. Remember this check that I told you, this check that React does in reconciliation phase? So apparently the check, let me just see if I can, yeah, let me remove this scribbling. Yeah, so apparently what happens is, whenever you pass the update for the reconciliation phase, right, React checks the props. Okay, these props. Okay, now look at the prop here. We are passing logger the function, right, basically a component. So let's say the count value right now is 15. So right now, what is the logger value? What is this logger prop value? This component. Okay. Now I'm going to click again. Now it's 16. There is a new state. Okay, a new render. Now in the reconciliation phase, React will compare whether the prop in the state 15, okay, when it was state 15, is same as when the state is 16. Okay, of course it is same because the function didn't change, right? It's still the same. No matter how many times you click, it will still remain the same. So in the reconciliation phase, React will ignore it. Okay, React will basically drop it because why? It is not changed. So there is no need of updating it, no need of committing it to the real DOM. Okay, by this way, React just saved itself from an unnecessary update. Okay, so this is how the whole re-render thing works. Okay, this is how we can actually optimize, just a little bit tweak, you can optimize the whole performance of your application. Okay, this is the check that React DOM does, virtual DOM does, and there are many other checks that it does, but this is one of the main check that it does. Okay, it will just check whether the props from your previous update is same as the current update. If it is, it will ignore it, or else it will update it. All right, cool. That's great, isn't it? So right now we are able to save ourselves from all these changes. But how can you actually think, or how can you determine where to tweak and how to tweak, how to optimize your components? First thing is don't. Yeah, don't do it. Let me tell you why. Sometimes few components doesn't require any optimization. Okay, it's okay if one or two components are being re-rendered. It's fine, just keep it as it is. Okay, the browsers are fast. Okay, it doesn't matter if there's any tiny component that's being re-rendered. It's fine. You can just focus on main logic instead of just focusing on this tiny stuff. But if you really feel like you want to do it, here's how we determine it. So first thing is open up React Dev Tools. Okay, React Developer Tools. Analyze it properly. Okay, actually, to be specific, there is this React Profiler in React Developer Tools. Go there. It will show you all the list of components that your React application has and how many time it is taking to be rendered on the screen. Okay, and here some components might take some time depending on what it is dependent on. So let's say you're making an API call in a component, and then you're processing the data that's coming in, and then you're rendering it. So it might take some time. It's fine. Do not spend your time modifying something over there and breaking the whole flow. Okay, but if you feel like there is this component which is taking a lot of time, and basically it shouldn't have. Okay, so ultimately shouldn't have taken, but it's taking a lot of time. In that case, you can modify it. Okay, try to first modify the flow. Okay, try to tweak the imports. Basically we hard coded here as well, right? We hard coded it, so there might be some cases like this which you can tweak. Okay, try to tweak the flow, try to see how you can improve it. Okay, follow this rule where your component should do only one task. It should not include two to three tasks again. Okay, try to follow this rule. Try to keep it very simple. If you want, you can break down into multiple files as well, multiple components as well, multiple smaller components as well. See if that might solve your issue. Okay, if it doesn't, or if your component is involved with a lot of data, dependent on a lot of data, then there is one more way. Let's see what it is. It's called, okay, there's one more way. It's called use effect. Sorry, not use effect, use callback. Okay, there's two more ways, that is use callback and use memo. So these are hooks. These are hooks that React provides you to basically implement some optimization. Okay, basically memoization strategies in your application. So some of the base stuff and then most of the test stuff, optimization stuff, will be handled in reconciliation phase. You don't have to worry about that. And you can also you can always come back and tweak your application flow, your components flow, in order to get most of the performance out of it. But let's say if there is any expensive mathematical computation or expensive process that you're doing, okay, basically in that case try to use these two. Okay, so again, use callback will give you a function in return. Okay, you have to pass a function to it, and then you have to pass which data it is dependent on. For example, let's say we have count here, right? Count state. Let's say whenever there is a whenever this count changes, I have to run a function. In that case, you can use callback. Okay, in case if you need a function in return where you will run it elsewhere in your code. But if you need a value in return which calculates and then returns the value, then you can use memo. Okay, both work the same way. The difference is that use memo will return you the value directly. It will compute and return the value. But use callback will just give you a function in return, which if you run it anywhere in the code, it will give you the value, something like that. Okay, so try to use them. Again, the first step should be profiling. Okay, first step is that just think if you want that or not. If you really need optimization, if yes, then just ask yourself why. Is it slowing your application down? Is your customers complaining? Do you, if you feel like you need like optimizing, it's not the answer. Do you really have the requirement? Okay, do you really have the complaints that user is posting? Do you really does the report that you're like, let's say SEO report or your performance report, does those reports tell you that your application is underperforming? Only then take a look at the React profiler. Okay, then find out the painful part where your component is bleeding, like it's taking a lot of time or something like that, and analyze what is that component actually dependent on. Does it make an API call? Does it process some data? What's happening inside it? If all these things are valid, only then try to think about optimizing it. Okay, so try to introduce first try to tweak the flow. Okay, if that doesn't work out, if it's not possible at all, or try to incorporate these methods. Okay, use callback and use memo. So this should help you a lot. Okay, so coming back to the question here, so right now, to answer your question, all three. Yes, it does sometimes affect your performance, and sometimes it doesn't matter much, you can ignore it, and sometimes you can totally ignore it, no problem. Okay, sometimes yeah, you can take it for granted. Okay, so all these three are correct answers. Okay, so with that said, thank you so much guys for joining us with this Web Dev Wednesday. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I really hope you learned a lot in this video. You can obviously comment down below if you have any doubts. We'll definitely get back to you. And if you want to connect with me or my team directly with any of your projects doubts or any of your React doubts or blockchain doubts or cloud or DevOps or MERN stack doubts, you can obviously join our Discord group. Please join our Discord group. You can you can connect with our community. You can connect with like-minded people, work together, and then basically network with them. And of course, don't forget to share the video, like the video, and subscribe, and turn on the notification, please. Okay, so that's it. Thank you guys so much. Bye bye. Take care.